Hey, I'm Alon Rubin, and I'm excited to let you know about a new drum book that I've written. It's called Start Somewhere to Go Somewhere, published by the almighty Hudson Music. And I have to say, it's an honor for them to have put my book out because, like many of you, I'm sure, I grew up reading a lot of the stuff that they published, and still do, to be honest with you. Gadamant's excellent addition to the catalog. But yes, classic drum solos, the Buddy Rich Memorial Concerts, the Modern Drummer Festivals. In fact, the Modern Drummer Festival tape inspired me to make a submission myself back in 2001, many lifetimes ago, and I won the under 18 division. So thank you, Hudson Music. But without further ado, here is the book, Start Somewhere to Go Somewhere. I figured I'd take a few minutes and kind of talk about what's in the book, why I wrote the book, how I approach writing the book, and anything I can think of while I yap to you here. So, for anybody who is at all familiar with me, you may have noticed that I'm an open-handed drummer, generally speaking. And I say generally because, yes, when I'm playing on the hi-hat, I lead with my left, but when I move to the ride, I lead with my right. And that is a quirk that developed very early on when my dad first started teaching me. He taught me as if I was a traditional right-handed player. But leaving me to my own devices to practice something he had taught me, I just naively realized that my left hand was closer to the hi-hat. So when he came back, he noticed that I was playing like this, but it sounded right, and he let me run with it. So from that point forward, I became an open-handed player. But still, some things came to be more naturally from a right hand leading. So with this book, I wanted to make sure that everything could be approached from lefty or righty. And you may be thinking, what's the big deal? Just invert the sticking, and there you have it. Now, that only works with practice pad or snare drum stuff. When it comes to alternating sticking at the drum set, you'd often end up with strange crossovers and things that are very unnatural a lot of the time. So for 99.99999% of this book, the floor tom is only hit by the right hand, and the tom, rack tom are only hit by the left hand. And this allows all of the exercises to kind of be written as mirror images of each other. So let's say you decide to start an exercise left-handed, you segue to right-handed leading seamlessly, and vice versa. And it's great for people who just naturally have a preference, or for those who kind of want to develop their weaker side and strengthen it. So that was something I kept in mind writing this whole thing. Another thing I wanted to do was kind of give an insight into my creative process as a drummer. And what I mean by that is, throughout the duration of the book, show you how you can develop more interesting ideas from something very basic. And section 3 is a good example of that. It's called All Things Diddles. And as you can imagine, all kinds of diddle rudiments at the drum set. But each chapter in that section starts with what I call a building block. It is the most basic iteration of applying a paradiddle, for example, to the drum set. And that's the sort of barrier to entry. Once you've got that, it's then followed by 10 exercises that increasingly become more interesting. I don't even want to say more difficult per se, because there's nothing in here that's too advanced. That's not the point. The point is for you to get the most you can out of this book and find the best ways for you to apply it to your own playing, regardless of genre, skill level. There's a lot of room to be covered here. So it's a pretty hefty book, 184 pages, which I initially wrote by hand. Not sure it was the most efficient way to go, but I like to use a pen. 4 sections comprising of 40 chapters. So section 1, at the practice pad. These are kind of warm-up routines, exercises that I do at a practice pad before I go on stage. Just good things to get the blood pumping, flowing, and building up evenness between both hands. Section 2, at the drums, moves all that stuff to the kit and goes beyond. Section 3, as I said, all things diddles. This is the lengthiest section of the book. All kinds of diddle rudiments across the drums. And then section 4, mixing it up, mini solos and routines. And that really kind of sums up the point of this book. You can take things from chapter 7, 10, and 30 and mix them up into something that's useful. You can string them along for some nice solo material. You can cut them up into pieces for fills. I wanted everything in this book to be practical. Practical would be a key word. how to creatively expand on simplicity. So, as I said earlier, you take those simple ideas, you expand upon them, but really musicality is always at the forefront. So, whether you take a bar or a group of 16th notes, whatever it may be, as long as you can apply it to your playing, your genre, regardless of skill level, I've done my job and the book has served its purpose. I recorded about 50 or so exercises, and that audio is included. What can I say? A couple of thank yous. First and foremost, I got to thank an old friend of mine, Mike Fasano. We go way back, and I have to credit him with the title of this book. Okay, this is a guy who's a great drummer, phenomenal drum tech. He's probably gotten the tones for some of your favorite drum recordings, but we go way back, and I'm telling you this story because the hardest thing I had to do with this book is come up with a title. After all of this, I was scratching my head and pulling out my hair trying to find a title. But something took me back to when I was 14 years old. Mike and I were recording, became friends, and I remember asking him, this is great. How do I do more sessions? How do I get out there? How do I do more? And he said to me, hey man, you're young. Don't worry about it. You got to start somewhere to go somewhere. And all these years, I took that nugget of wisdom and I turned it into the title for my first book. So thank you, Mike Fasano. Another dear friend, Ronnie Vanucci, did me the honor and courtesy of writing a great foreword. I can't thank you enough. Mark Juliana, another great drummer, facilitated the relationship with Hudson, so thank you there. Yeah, perhaps in the near future, I'll record some exercises, some shorts, some reels, so you guys can get a taste of the book without giving away too much. But yeah, link is in the bio. I hope you enjoy it. For those of you who have gotten your copy, ask me some questions, leave some comments. For those of you who are curious in considering the book, ask me some questions. I'd be happy to answer them. And if there are a lot of questions that I did not answer in this video, perhaps I'll do another one. So, all right, start somewhere to go somewhere. Go get it. I hope you enjoy it. Have a lovely day or night.